In this video, I will be discussing Algebra 1, or Level K, AA.7, Factor by Grouping on IXL. So, when you're factoring by grouping, you're going to have four terms. So let's say we have 4k cubed plus 5k squared plus 40k plus 50. Our goal is to factor this by grouping. So we're going to find which two terms we can group together and another two terms that we can group together. The point of this is so that we can find a greatest common factor between both of those pair of newly found binomials. Okay, so if I look at 4k to the third and 5k squared, I am going to group those together. I'm going to do that by putting parentheses around them, and I'm going to group 40k plus 50. Okay, now I did change the question a little bit, because now this is saying 4k cubed plus 5k squared times 40k plus 50, which is not what the original was saying. So I'm going to put a plus sign here to make it the question still true. Okay. Now, in other videos, I've talked about factoring, and to get to this point, you should know how to find the greatest common factor. If not, please go back to another video and watch how I find a greatest common factor. So here I have 4k to the third plus 5k squared. 4 and 5 have a common factor of 1. That's no good to us. But k cubed and k squared have a common factor of k squared. So I'm going to take a k squared out of 4k cubed, and I'm going to take a k squared out of 5k squared. Okay. Now, we want a 40k, we want to find the greatest common factor of 40k plus 50. I know that 10 goes into 40 and 50. So 10 divide 40 by 10, I get 4 and then the k. 50 divided by 10 is 5. Now our goal is to have two GCFs, okay, and the same identical binomial left over after we find the greatest common factor. Now remember, we had this plus sign here, so I'm going to put it in between our parentheses and our 10. Our final answer is actually going to be k squared plus 10. So we're using the commutative property there. And then we are going to keep a single 4k plus 5. So that is our answer. Okay. It is important to note that if you do not have matching binomials here after you're taking out the greatest common factor, you need to go back and try two different sets or two different pairs of binomials to take the greatest common factor from. Another one you will see is 20u cubed minus 10u squared plus 34u minus 17. Right away, I noticed that 20 and 10 have a common factor, 34 and 17 also have a common factor. So I am going to pair together 20u cubed and 10u squared. And I'm also going to pair together positive 34u minus 17. Okay. I know that the greatest common factor between 20 and 10 is a 10. Greatest common factor between u cubed and u squared is u squared. If you're not strong with knowing how to find the greatest common factor with variables, it's always going to be the lower exponent. Okay, it's always going to be the lower exponent. So u squared has u times u. It only has 2 u's. U cubed has 3 u's. U times u times u. Well, 3 u's are not in u squared, so it always has to be the lesser exponent. And if we divide, we get 2u minus 1. 20 divided by 10 is 2. U cubed divided by u squared is u. 10u squared divided by 10u squared is 1. Now we have 34u minus 17. 17 goes in 34 twice. So I know that 17 is the greatest common factor, and minus 1. So if I look, I see that I have 2u minus 1, 2u minus 1. They match, therefore I know I will probably have the right answer. So our final answer is 10u squared plus 17 times 2u minus 1. How did I know it's 10u squared plus 17? Because they are both my greatest common factor here. And I will do a final question here. So let's say I have 24r to the 5th minus 24r to the 4th minus 10r cubed plus 10r squared. So I'm going to pair together 24r to the 5th minus 24r to the 4th and negative 10r cubed plus 10r squared. Pink was a really bad choice there because I was using red. I'm sorry. When I factor out 24 and 24, I know 24 is going to be the greatest common factor there. R to the 5th and R to the 4th. R to the 4th is the greatest common factor there. So 24r to the 5th divided by 24r to the 4th is r minus 24r to the 4th divided by 24r to the 4th is 1. So I have 24r to the 4th, r minus 1. Next, I have a negative 10r cubed plus 10r squared. Okay, this is where it gets a little tricky. We have a negative here and a positive here, but we want to get r minus 1 in parentheses. So we're going to take out a negative factor. Now they have 10 in common. I'm going to take out a negative 10. Okay, I'm going to take out a negative 10, and then r cubed and r squared, I know it has to be r squared. Why am I taking out a negative 10? Well, negative 10r cubed divided by negative 10r squared is a positive r. And we want a positive r. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. That's why I took out a negative 10r squared. Now a positive 10r squared divided by a negative 10r squared is a negative 1. So that is the final answer. We have, oh sorry, it's not the final answer. Got a little excited there. We have r minus 1 and r minus 1 in parentheses. What did I do wrong? Well, I didn't combine my greatest common factors. That's what I didn't do. So our actual answer is 24r to the 4th minus 10r squared, r minus 1. Now, I'm not happy with this result, okay? This is where IXL is going to try to trick you. Why are they trying to trick me? I notice that 24r to the fourth minus 10r squared, I can take a greatest common factor out of that. The greatest common factor between 24 and 10 is 2. The greatest common factor between r to the fourth and r to the second is r to the second. So that I would get 12r to the second minus 5r minus 1. Okay, so you will see a second kind of question where you actually have to take a GCF out of the whole factor by grouping the whole polynomial, and then you would want to factor by grouping. Is it necessary? No, but as long as you notice 24r to the fourth minus 10r squared has a greatest common factor, you should proceed to take out that common factor. And then you will actually get your full answer that IXL is looking for. Okay, so don't be tricked by that. Make sure you make a good use of finding all the greatest common factors that you can. That is it for this video. Good luck.